This is my first video about Chinese and Chinese learning. Well, my name is Mr. White Bear. No, just call me White Bear. That's okay. Okay, let me talk a little bit about Chinese pronunciations and Chinese written characters. To foreigner, the reason Chinese is the world's number one language most difficult language to learn, I think personally, the reason will be normally if you learn a language, you just need to learn one systems, and the pronunciations, the written characters might vary a little bit, but generally speaking, it's similar. Like English, its pronunciations, because the language itself can readable, especially like Spanish, Italian, the language exactly in the way it pronounce. So, but Chinese is completely different story. It's another story. So if you want to learn Chinese, really like use the Chinese like a Chinese. Well, unless you learn two systems, first is the pronunciation systems, second is the written characters. Otherwise, it's incomplete. The mission is incomplete. So, I guess that's the major difference between English learning and Chinese learning. So, a lot like to English foreign speakers, learning English, French, even German, Dutch, they are similar because it's basically in the same systems. But China, unless you're learning ancient Egypt, right? That's another way, similar, but it's broken. It's a dead language. No one actually uses it nowadays. But China, unfortunately, Chinese people still use it worldwide. And especially after China become more and more powerful, this language has become more and more useful to foreigners. It's just like go back to like 50 years ago, since especially 30 years ago, China opening up to the world. So a lot of youngsters being forced, the parents really push them to learn English. Even most of them don't use Chinese after graduation from the college, but still, it's a long process. The parents just so enthusiastic, just pushing the kids, spend tons of money in English tutoring. But still, it's so sad. Most of the Chinese people abandon their English education after graduate from the college. So, okay, it's not talking about English education in China, we're talking about Chinese. So the trend is similar nowadays. I guess people are really profit-oriented, money-oriented. Where is the money? Where is the efforts? So, since nowadays doing business with Chinese can be quite profitable. So a lot of Westerners, not just Westerners, Easterners from all over the world, real African in Africa, not American African. They just have a huge passion to learn Chinese. Even as a Chinese, I'm quite proud of this change, So it's just being fair, It's just being fair. Now you can understand what we Chinese kids have been through to master English, So now it's your turn, trying to push your kids to learn Chinese. So yeah, my first point is Chinese is very useful nowadays. That's why people want to learn it. If like some really, I don't be judgmental. I'm just saying, if you use a language, very small portion of people actually use it. It doesn't profit you. You won't spend your time and money and effort to learn it, right? It's just human nature. So it's just like English. To be fairly speaking, except English, Chinese is the second language being most worldwide, being most used. I don't know my English, but you get my point, right? The third was Spanish. So to me, my personal goal as an interpreter, I already mastered in Chinese, English. So the third language I will approach is Spanish. Well, as a hobby, I like singing, so maybe in the future I want to learn Italian too. So, okay. I don't know what to say. Okay, yeah. Pronunciations and written characters. That's our main topic today. So, you got my first point, right? Chinese is very useful nowadays. So, you won't be waste your time or money because you will really gain a lot of profit in the future if you truly master the language. Now, as from my personal life experience, I think English study a foreign language is quite useful, like really life-changing effort. The outcome is really life-changing. Before I don't even speak. I'm not even an English major, just because I think it's the future chain, So China will open up. So if you want to have a better stand or better social status, and get paid better, you better understand a foreign language, especially English. Why? Because still it's the most useful language on this planet. Unless maybe one day there's a alien invasion. Okay, every Chinese, every Earth citizen or being have to force to learn an alien language. Okay, that's another story. Then we will truly try to bust our ass. Okay, this time is into the space. But so far, especially now, this couple centuries, China is rising up, but America is still the number one country. Americans speak English, and China speak Chinese, Mandarin to be more specific. So, if you know these two languages, most powerful language on this planet, I'm sure it doesn't matter you are foreigner or Chinese, you just have a better chance in the competitions. And then there's one thing about China. A lot of Chinese, since we were born, we have the largest population on this planet as a country. So since we were born, the competitions is just vicious. The competitions really will eat your life. So a lot of parents. That's why Chinese parents are so crazy about educating youngsters and their children. You never see this phenomenon in any other countries, especially Western countries. Maybe Japan too, Korean, Singaporean, or Malaysian, but they're basically Asian country. But China is on top of it. It's just crazy, Like a kid, when we were born, we had to push since we were young. That's 3, 4, 5 years old. And the parents would just sign up a lot of like skill training, tutoring, some class. Then we spend our whole weekend. Sometimes not just weekend, we have to sacrifice our own evenings during the weekdays after we get back from the school. And the school is always extensive. And when the hours are just long, dragging. Maybe sometimes nowadays, it's easier when the school closed earlier. But so what? There's a lot of homework. And this recent years, even bad trend is really bad social phenomenon. Like the teachers stop teaching knowledge in the class because the money capital, they kind of twisted education, made it profitable. So a lot of great teachers, they quit their job from the school. They're being hired by some private tutoring companies like the New Oriental U Oriental, most famous Chinese English education organization. So it's really bad. So you even the kids spend hours in the class, but they don't learn a lot of things. They don't really learn enough. So but the Chinese parents are very competitive. They want their kid to be the best. So what's an outcome? The outcome is Chinese parents, some poor one doesn't have money or resources to support their kid, to give them a head start. But like middle class, up class, they just hire personal tutoring or go sign up a lot of tutoring classes for their kids. Oh God, it's a dead circle. It's really a dead circle. Who made the most profitable? Who will be the most profitable during these dead circles? No kids, no parents, no schools, no teachers, but no organizations, owners. So yeah, so nowadays, just a few weeks ago, the rule change. It's not allowed nowadays to tutoring kids after school in some organization. It's banned from the education ministry. There's a new rules from Beijing. So, but still, one-on-one is fine, but just costly, Anyway, my target is not Chinese kids. Well, I can tutoring them too, but that's not my target. I prefer to teach Chinese to foreign learners. So let's come back. What's next I want to say? First of all, I introduced the Chinese, the value of learning Chinese. Second, Chinese is also very popular among the world. The third, okay, let's talking about the language itself. Chinese, I think, to most of foreigners, you understand about Cantonese, Mandarin, right? But it's just some dialect, not really Chinese itself. Also, traditional Chinese is its written form and simplified Chinese. Nowadays, before this movement, they even trying to transform Chinese into like English form, like just letters, like ABC, but we call it pinyin. It's not really healthy as a language. We abandon all the tradition. So I think Chinese, the uniqueness of Chinese is it has its written form, and it's quite different from its pronunciation. So if you really abandon this, you just forget about why you become the most different language on this planet. So of course it's stupid decision even they really abandon the written characters. So but thank God they didn't. They just simplified it. That's why short after the establishment of People's Republic of China, they simplified the traditional Chinese. They become simplified Chinese. Why? To help the kids, the new generations, to master their language, inherit their tradition legacy easier. Language is just it's a barrier of the culture. So before it's so complicated. Traditional Chinese is so complicated. Only a very small portion have a good access to education resources. They have the ability to master this lesson calligraphies. It's some privilege, in ancient China. Most of the kids, they never know how to write their name, write down their name, So, but they can speak, but still it's in literature, in literary. So, So that's the purpose. We have a simplified Chinese, which is widely used in mainland China. Some nowadays, some like Taiwan, they also they officially they are traditional Chinese, use traditional Chinese as well as like Taiwan, Macau, Hong Kong, overseas Chinese. But the connections mainland is very powerful nowadays, so they also learn how to read simplified Chinese. A lot of Honkies, and in order to continue their business, they also forced to learn Mandarin nowadays. So, yeah. See how money does, really. Money talk, right? Yeah, that's the reason we have this kind of conversation. We are talking about the function of Chinese, or Mandarin specific simplifies Chinese, and the pronunciation is Mandarin. But Mandarin is not the only pronunciation system in Chinese. Like Cantonese, they speak Cantonese, but it's just it's a pronunciation system. And also, if you go to Henan, they also have a kind of interesting twisted on pronunciation. Sichuan, Chongqing, same. Also go to Minchuan, Fujian, a province next to Taiwan, same. It's called Ming Chinese. Then you go to northeast, northeast, Dongbei. Now, the sound is similar to the Mandarin, but it's still distinguished from other dialects. The pronunciation systems are also definitely, if most of the foreigners, their first encounter is Beijing, so you will hear a lot of R, culture, 丁片儿，您去哪儿? This a lot of R sound. Also, if you go to Shanghai, you will see the way they talk is very soft. That's called Shanghainese. But they are all just dialects of Mandarin. Chinese, simplified Chinese or traditional Chinese, just a dialect, a way of pronounce the language. So, but still, China is a united country. We have a strong government, central government. You can also apply this pattern into the language itself. Like when I was a kid, if I follow my mother tongue is no Mandarin, actually it's Ming Chinese. No Taiwanese is another dialect in Fujian. Fujian is a weird province. We have all kind of dialects. So we call it Fujianese. If you go to Chinatown in Flushing, Chinatown in New York or in San Francisco, you might hear this sound. Some Fujianese live there forever, for generations. So, dialects, but Mandarin is the standard Chinese. Mandarin standard and the standard pronunciation system for simplified Chinese. So whether you come from Beijing, Shanghai, Dongbei, Fujian, Sichuan, or other province, it's highly recommended, or it's mandate to learn simplified and standard Mandarin. But of course, some regions, some provinces, they have really a strong impact by the mother tongue and local dialects. So they don't speak standard Mandarin even they grow up. Especially Cantonese, Fujianese, you can the more you go south, the worse it get. It's really it's just exactly like another language, a foreign language that will completely different. But why? But don't forget, they still consider themselves as a Chinese. Why? Because we have the same written Chinese. You go to Canton, you go to Dongbei, you go to Sichuan, Chongqing, even go to Xinjiang. we all use the same written character, the Chinese, the simplified Chinese. Some of them, if you are more educated, I as a history major, I also have a chance, opportunity to learn traditional Chinese, so I can do both. It doesn't matter to me. But to some people, it's kind of, it's very difficult. It's like you have to understand ancient English, like low, short, whatever. It's just weird to them. So, I want to take a break. I'm kind of thirsty. Where's my cup of water? Okay, water. Yeah. So Mandarin, you thought is Chinese pronunciation. It's just a form of pronunciation. We have different dialects. Cantonese is another very distinguished, very wide use and very popular, especially to foreigners. Why? Because a lot of Cantonese go to US, go to UK, and they bring their language, their local dialect to you. So you think Chinese either speak Mandarin or speak Cantonese. Well, that's a big mistake between this. It's just a form of dialect. But we have other form. But the government is back up is just back the Mandarin up. So it's very powerful. It's like you have a license from the government, so no one can touch you. You are the most popular one. Yeah. So, see, now you understand about pronunciations. Actually have all kinds of dialects, but Mandarin is the most wide used among mainland China. As the written form is simplified Chinese, is more popular. Traditional Chinese we still use, but the population who actually use simplified Chinese is much smaller than traditional Chinese is much smaller than the simplified Chinese. Why? Well, it's not just because the mainland is very powerful nowadays, just because it's easier to learn, easier to use, easier to pass on, so, and to understand it better. Well, but of course, as a calligraphy, that's a form of art. Normally, we will use the traditional Chinese. Why? Because it's more complicated, it's more sophisticated, it's original, So, okay. To beginners, I'm not really talking about written form. I'm talking about pronunciation. The pinyin, we call pinyin. We don't call it pronunciation. We just call it pinyin. Pinyin, it's a way to pronounce the word. That's why I call pinyin. Right? Ji, yi, ji, ji. Bo, ai, bai, bai. Xi, ong, xiong. Xiong, bai, xiong. My name, white bear, bai, xiong. So, bo, ai, bai. Xi, yi, ong, xiong, bai, xiong. That's called pinyin. You actually, if you know these systems, you have knowledge about how to pronounce Chinese. After you learn it, you know how to do it. So it's like kids. It's really like talking to kids, and the way they illustrate the knowledge is just like baby talk. Like bo, ai, bai, there's a cute white things. Xiong, xiong, xiong is a very cute teddy bear on the side. Okay. Talking of pinyin, I think pronunciations, English also have pronunciations. Like you have vowel, consonant, and syllables. I think Mandarin as a language, the very special part of it is we only have one syllable. Yeah. So by, doesn't matter how complicated, it's just called by, or by, 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 by. So it's unlike English pronunciations. You know what I mean, right? Syllables is China just swing. That's why speak Chinese we call 字正腔圆，字正腔圆，哇哒哒哒。Yes, the written is like this, da 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 da. That's if you want to speak a standard Mandarin, you have to practice the written. It's like this, do 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 do. But of course, if you use ankle level, you don't make mistakes and you know how to make vary. Sometimes when you speak a language, the tone can change a little bit. In the cases, in different cases, you have different vary change to make this pronunciation more smooth, more vivid, more gentle, or more pleasing to the ear, I guess. Okay, I will continue talking about pinyin our next episode. It's enough. I'm tired. I will find more more materials about pinyin, and I will try to introduce pinyin to foreign learners like you. So thank you. My name is Bai Xiong, White Bear. If you want to learn more about Chinese, about Mandarin, please click the like. Yeah, bye bye.